Hi everyone, delonewolf here and welcome back for some more EVE Online, and in today's video I'm going to continue with the discussion video situation, because with the Grand Heist CCP introduced a couple of changes into the game that are pretty controversial, I would say. Now first of all, maybe not that controversial, CCP has lowered the taxes for trading. I even saw a Reddit thread that with like max skills, it's now basically a better proposition to trade in JITA than it is in the Tranquility Trading Tower. That was at least at the tax rate that they had going there before this change. Not really sure if that's still the case, but the aim, of course, of this is going to be to increase the velocity of ISK, to have more trade happening more quickly. So that overall, I think, is a pretty good change from CCP. And you can see here, this will probably have had a little bit of an impact as well on Plex. The volumes here are way up all of a sudden. And if we then go take a look at where the sales are actually happening, we now have a neck-on-neck competition between JITA 4.4 and the Perimeter Trading Hub, also with the Tranquility Trading Tower. Main reason for that is probably a little bit of inertia in the system, but it's a very big difference from before the patch, from before the reduction in the tax rate, where everything was basically dominated in the Tranquility Trading Tower because the taxes were that much lower. So almost all sellers would sell from the trading tower. Buyer wise, let's take a quick look at that as well with this filter. You can see it's pretty much the same story. We do have like 6 buy orders that are within the Tranquility Trading Tower. Now these aren't even trying to buy within JITA itself, but and once you get into the green stuff, it's very much dominated again now by JITA 4.4, and the Tranquility Trading Tower is just hovering in between it. This could have a pretty big impact on the market and on the next EVE talk, but it's not the controversial part. Let's go over here to the login reward. Here is the controversial part, and I didn't even know that it was gonna be like that. So we are getting straight up ISK for Omega players from CCP as a daily login reward. Yesterday it was 10 million, today I can get 15 million, then it's 25, 40, 60 and 85 million ISK. Printing ISK out of thin air into the sandbox of EVE Online. I'm just going to say it philosophically here, I'm 100% against this. This is against a sandboxy rules where you know, anything that is created in the sandbox is created by player effort. So that should be the same for ISK as it is for materials. You know, tiny BPCs of frigates, things like that won't really impact the game. Neither will these amounts in the grand scheme of things. It's just tiny amounts as well. A couple 100 million ISK is not that important, or it's not going to create massive inflation or anything like that. But just, you know, for me, this is a big no. This is something that I really would have, you know, let's say that I was CSM or something like that. I really would have, you know, advised against this, fought against this, and I would say that CCP would have to look for an alternative over just printing ISK out of thin air into the sandbox. Well, it's a daily login reward. I am going to take it. Because I do sort of see this as a bit of an experiment as well then, while I would really have preferred that CCP did not do this, since this is a choice that they have made. Right there, it's in the redeeming queue, you can see that. If I then redeem this, I get 15 million ISK just from logging into the game. So maybe we should start with that, right? The potential alternatives. It's easy to say I don't like this, but it's pretty obvious that CCP has also been struggling with basically finding good login rewards. The BPCs of tiny little frigates, that's really not a very good motivator. They've probably done a lot of skins already, and well, skill points, that's generally been accepted by the player base. I think mostly because there is obviously an imbalance between more veteran players and newer players that try the game, and so trying to boost people up a little bit by giving them more skill points, and it's pretty uniform for everyone, just lifting everyone in the skill point pool. It's generally accepted, although I myself, right from the start as well, did not like the idea of giving out skill points, and I've never liked the idea of the skill extractors and skill injectors, as I do think that that combination is for a certain segment of the player base going to cut down on the lifetime for their EVE Online experience, getting into battleships more quickly, getting into that carrier more quickly, that Orca, whatever it is that, back in the day when I started playing about a decade ago, you actually had to really train all of those skills. Those days, are far behind us. That also, I do think, has cut down on the potential lifespan for EVE Online, if not in general, at least for the experience of certain players. And so this is, well, another step, in my opinion, in the wrong direction there. What would be my alternative then? Right? You want to reward the players for logging in, and you want to give them a little bit of risk. Okay, have them do something. Give them maybe a bookmark somewhere pretty far away where they can choose between certain activities. For instance, a bookmark potentially in HiSec where you could mine some special minerals that have a certain amount of value that you would ascribe to a daily login reward. Someone else chooses PvE but then combat. All right, give them like an escalation somewhere. That's really just there, but they log in, they get a bookmark. You want to get a little bit of easy ISK, 10 million easy ISK. All right, here's an escalation for you. Go kill a couple of rats and pick up your token from the main boss or something like that. And then, what would be really cool as well, you want to do PvP. All right, here is a bookmark. There's a reward in there, but it's also going to go out to like 10 other players, 20 other players, something like that. You may have to fight for it, or you can be lucky if you're the first one. This would, armchair dev here. I know that this is sounds way easier than it is to implement something like that, but this is how I would basically try to get some rewards going through like a daily login reward or something like that. Don't just print stuff into the game, into existence, but then give the player something to do within certain activities that they can then choose. I would say that there, at least there's some interaction. You're still doing stuff, even though you're pumping that content up a little bit. You're doping that because it is the daily login reward that you want to have as a motivator. But yeah, this just straight up login, get 15 million. I really, honestly do not like this. So that would be my alternative. So my reason for not liking it, as I've said, I do feel like this goes against the generally accepted rules for a sandbox game, where as much as possible should be created by the players, and getting this type of artificial inflation of stuff is, especially if you would do it more and in the long run, going to be a problem. It's in fact a problem that CCP already acknowledged. Ratting has been massively nerfed because we were creating too much ISK into the game. Now they're creating ISK themselves out of thin air. So my hope is that this is basically centered around the let's see if I can do this. Notice anything here? No, I'm not really sure, but that is because the current patch is called the Grand Heist. It's all about the 20 trillion ISK that was ratted together, that now becomes available through the keys. You're trying to steal that from other players. It's all about ISK, and so together with that, they cut down on the taxes. They're doing these daily login rewards, all about getting ISK to flow, which, to grease the machine, which is why I'm calling this video EVE Online Stimulus has arrived, because if I look at this from like a real life point of view, this does feel like CCP is playing a central bank at this point, basically, and is trying to motivate its economy, motivate the activity in the game by greasing the wheels with free cash, which is not what I would honestly want to see in the sandbox game. But I can also sort of see this as an experiment. So as long as they're keeping this limited, and that then they hopefully learn the lesson that this is not the way to go, and dig a little bit deeper into what kind of login rewards they say. I think that this could be interesting though, because I feel like this also touches on potentially something that is quite often discussed, I think, these days, especially with the pandemic and government help and things like that, like a universal basic income, right? What if you would just give a little bit of ISK to every single player in the game that logs in as a daily login reward? You could find other schemes as well, of course, where just automatically CCP would play the central bank and say, all right, this week here's 10 million for you to play with, and the next week here's 10 million again, and you do this for everyone. It would of course create inflation, but it could perhaps help some of the players, the newer players, the players that are struggling to earn stuff, to get into some PvP activities, get a little bit more destruction going or something like that. Kind of feel like this is what they're aiming at here, although this is Omega only, which also to me is like, yeah, I understand it, right? You want to reward the players that are paying your subscription. Honestly, I think the players that pay your subscription are here for the sandbox, and I honestly think that that was almost like a little bit of a mistake. I would have almost preferred that they did the exact opposite, give alphas some ISK, give Omega players something else that they could maybe consider valuable in that same vein, something unique or something like that. But yeah, this is the road that CCP has chosen, at least for the Grand Heist. We don't know if this is going to stick around, but I do listen to podcasts from Peter Schiff from time to time, and yeah, his one of his arguments is always that once you start with stimulus like this, it's almost impossible to take it away, because it always feels like you're doing the right thing. You're trying to help players out. Here's a little bit of ISK, here's some ISK, just go out there, play the game, have fun, do whatever you want with it, but the long-term economic damage that a system like that does can be very devastating. And then of course it's a move like that becomes like a roach motel, where players start to accept and expect these types of stimulus payments from CCP, and then of course the market gets juiced up on all of that ISK, so we'll get inflation. CCP will have much bigger numbers in trade volumes, in prices of things. Everything will become more valuable, inflated in price. So it'll all look very nice on the metrics. Man, this really does feel like an experiment a little bit from CCP that could eventually head towards like a UBI. So from that perspective, right, I do think it's massively interesting that CCP makes a choice like that, and I do wonder where this will go. Will they decide to stop because this was a Grand Heist thing and then hopefully never do it again? That would be my preferred scenario. Or is CCP going to look at the numbers and then continue to experiment with these types of creations of stuff, with these types of stimulus for the players and the economy in its game? And what would the consequences be for that choice? It would be a absolutely fascinating experiment, I think, and yeah, this is something to keep in mind as well. This is EVE Online. It's a game. We're here to have fun, and so sure, I'm a little bit disappointed, actually pretty disappointed, that CCP went the printer go brr route here and just created ISK out of thin air. But I would say that I'm open-minded enough that and curious enough that I'm going to stick around and just try to see if there's noticeable effects, what the long-term consequences of a choice like that is going to be, and yeah, just what this whole experiment that in the end EVE Online is as well is going to turn out to be. So yeah, very, very strange day here. Not what I expected with the Grand Heist, but very interesting. I would say in the comments down below, what I would mostly like to see is what would be your daily login rewards that you would consider to be worthwhile, like as a reward for an Omega or even for an Alpha players. What would your ideas be? I've told you guys mine. Some sort of a bookmark for a certain activity that you choose that's like pretty short time-wise, but gets you that reward that CCP actually wants to give you with the daily login reward. So that's what the route that I would take. But yeah, for now we're gonna print a little bit of ISK in the upcoming week or so, and then yeah, we're gonna take a look at what all of this does to the game, to the market, to our sandbox in EVE Online. Thank you very much for watching, guys, and as always, I'll see you next time.